Hi, welcome to the Sweetwater Minute. I'm Mitch Gallagher. This week we have something really special for you. I'm joined by master musician Rob Ickes. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Rob is a Dobro player, as you can see from the instrument that he's holding here. He's one of the most awarded Dobro players in history, actually. 11 Dobro Player of the Year awards from the IBMA. Played on all kinds of Grammy-winning albums. Tons of musicians that you've worked with on tour and on albums. We're happy that you joined us today.
I'm glad to be here.
Now, some of you may not be familiar with exactly what a Dobro or a Resonator guitar is. So, Rob, can you tell us a little bit about the instrument that you're playing?
Well, back in the 20s, what they were trying to do, this is before electric amplifiers, they were trying to increase the volume of an acoustic guitar.
Okay.
So they took a metal resonator and plunked it down here inside the body of the guitar. And again, they weren't trying to do anything tonally, just wanted to increase the volume of the guitar. And I guess the first guy that I know of that took that and played it flat like this, Hawaiian style, was Brother Oswald, who played with Roy Ickes for years and years on the Grand Ole Opry.
Right.
And so Oswald was the first well-known player to take the instrument, this style of playing, Hawaiian style with a bar and in your lap, and yet playing it on one of these Resonator guitars.
Okay.
And so that kind of got everything started. And after that, Josh Graves played the dobro with Flatt & Scruggs for many, many years and brought the instrument into bluegrass. And then Mike Aldridge and Jerry Douglas and several other players have done amazing things with it. And it's gone on to be included in, blues and bluegrass and country, and I've even done some jazz things on it. So it's just a beautiful instrument, and what I love about it is the mix of the metal resonator with the wood body of the guitar. It just... There's just something about that tone when you mix those two things together that is still, my favorite thing about the instrument.
Right. And it seems to have tremendous sustain for an acoustic instrument as well. Is that part of the way that the neck is shaped? It's not a guitar that you would hold and play.
Right. I think originally they were round necks and people played them like regular guitars, but when they went like this, as you can tell, the string action is raised up, and so that puts a lot more tension on the neck, so they started building square necks. And this guitar was designed by Tim Shearhorn, and he's kind of the Stradivarius of the dobro.
This is your signature
This
guitar.
is the signature model, yeah, a Wechter Shearhorn. And Tim did so many different design things. It's got the sound posts inside instead of a tone ring. And then he's got a baffle up here that kind of forces the sound out these sound holes.
Okay.
And typically dobros have screens over these holes, but my model is open because you just get more of that sound
Right.
coming
It's a very
out.
powerful instrument.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I played a Shearhorn guitar, it was probably '89. And that's the first thing I noticed is the response was immediate. It's just in your face. And as an acoustic musician, you're out there battling against guitars and banjos and mandolins, and so volume is nice.
Sure.
Because you don't have to work as hard to play.
Right.
And so I think that when Tim came along, he really changed the whole playing field of the instrument. You really didn't have any choices, many choices before Tim came along, but he has really sort of rejuvenated the market and does incredible work. So they've done a great job with my signature model. I'm really happy with it.
Right. It sounds beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, you mentioned some of the different styles that Dobro's been used for. I know that you've played with Blue Highway for a number of years, which is a bluegrass group, but you've also done your most recent solo album, Road Song, is a jazz album.
Right.
Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, you bet. My latest record is called Road Song, and I have done a couple other records where I kind of delved into some jazz, maybe not jazz material, but a jazz band, in other words, with drums and piano and saxophone even. And I love how the dobro fits into that band. But a couple years ago, I met this great piano player in Nashville named Michael Alvey, and the two of us just started getting together just for fun, and I would tape our jam sessions, and I love the sound of these two instruments together.
Right.
And he also was teaching me a lot about the chords and a lot of the jazz standards, because I love the melodies. And so I would try and see which ones fit good on here, and which ones sounded good. And again, just from taping these informal sessions, I just said, man, this sounds great. Let's just go do a record, just these two instruments.
Right.
And so that's what we did. And Road Song is primarily jazz standards. There's a Hank Williams song, and there's a Bonnie Raitt song on there also. But It's primarily jazz tunes, yeah. And again, that's what I love about this instrument. There's something about the tone of it that works in a lot of different musics. So I listen to all kinds of stuff. I grew up just only bluegrass. That's all I cared about. And then when I went to college, I think I started listening to jazz and a lot of other musics. And I love electric guitar players like Robin Ford and John Scofield, and sometimes the dobro tone kind of reminds me of electric guitar. That sustain you're talking about is closer to an electric guitar, I think, than an acoustic guitar.
Right.
So yeah, it all kind of gets mixed up, but again, that's what I love about the instrument is I can try to do a lot of different things, and it seems to work in a lot of different formats.
Right. Now, I've always thought, as a non-bluegrass player, that there were some similarities between bluegrass and jazz in the way that the players approach playing through chords rather than over the changes, the way a blues or rock player might. Was it a hard transition to make as you went from more straight-ahead bluegrass to the
it's a different language. I think of it as like languages, And I have a friend who's like one of the best jazz bass players out there, and I always say, how do you play over all those changes so fast? Those quick changes in bebop and stuff. And he says, how do you play over one chord? And it's just a different language. And so it's been fun for me to try and learn some of the jazz language. And it really makes me learn so much about the instrument. I was telling somebody earlier just about, just rhythm stuff. And seeing where to get those chord positions.
I noticed you play the dobro with a metal bar that you hold in your left hand, and for most things it's perpendicular to the neck. But I noticed when you were doing the jazzier chords there, you're angling it. Is that something you also do in bluegrass, or is that a technique you came up with?
Yeah, it's actually probably more of a Hawaiian technique because they started. These are called slants. That's what we call them when you slant the bar at an angle, and so they're very difficult to get in tune.
I bet.
So, but actually that was probably one of the earlier things because Brother Oswald, who I mentioned earlier, played with Roy Acuff for many years. We've all heard that lick, in old country music, and that's a real dobro sounding thing.
Right.
And so the slants are actually kind of an older thing, but I like to use them on the low strings, which people don't do as much, because I can get the... So I think that's something that I've been kind of exploring, and that again ties into Tim Shearhorn and his guitars, because what I love about him is he really opened up the bass end of the instrument. It used to be you played 90% of your stuff on the top 2 or 3 strings, and this stuff just couldn't get heard, so you didn't do that. Right. But now I can just do that one note and just let it ring, a long time. So I think that, playing one of these guitars helps me, sort of explore the lower register of the instrument, which comes in handy with chords and stuff.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today. Coming up
it.
here to Sweetwater. Be sure to check out the Wechter, Rob Ickes signature model Dobro guitar, Resonator guitar. I think you're going to be thrilled with this instrument. It sounds great. And once again, we appreciate your time.
And I'd like to thank Abe for doing such a great job on this guitar. He's been great to work with, and I'm really happy with this signature model.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Will you play us out?
Yeah, you bet.
I'm Mitch Gallagher. Thanks for joining us for the Sweetwater Minute.